So I'm just 15 minutes away before finishing the last 100 kilometers of Camino de Santiago, this time the Portuguese way. And while I thought that I knew what to expect, something caught me off guard completely. And it weren't the crowds and it wasn't the weather, it was something else. For the last 2 days, I've learned a lesson that it was hard to imagine, which led me to the conclusion, which I have to admit, I wouldn't walk it again. So, come with me on this last stretch of Camino Portuguese and see for yourself why. The day began with this stone, one I almost tripped over, if I'm being honest. But also the kind of stone you notice because your thoughts are still slow, still waking up, and somehow it felt symbolic. When I started walking that morning, there were just 56 kilometers to go. After a night of community laughter and shared pasta, I felt the spark again that this Camino had meaning, not just in a friendship but in how I finally unplugged from noise, pressure and timelines. Just me, the greenery and the Galician rhythm that doesn't care what time it is. And yet again, the statistics do not lie. That means that if you start in the middle of the stage, whichever is marked in the main guidebook, and then you start a little bit later than others, like just for example one coffee later or one toast later, there is nobody around. The busiest Camino, the busiest time, and there's nobody. The trail felt like it was mine, just me and the trees. A kind of walk in meditation, but with snacks. Caldas de Reis came quickly, known for its thermal bath, riverside charm and the churches for the devout, or simply tired. And the hot springs? I dipped one foot in an instant, remember why I usually just take showers. But I didn't linger, because something had shifted. I didn't feel like I was walking to Santiago anymore. I was just walking. Not to arrive, not to finish, but to be in motion. It really might feel strange, especially for you if you haven't been walking the Camino, but there is a moment that came for me today of this lightness of walk. And obviously connected to the lightness of thought. There's just simply walking. Simply and walking. There is no double guessing. There is no doubting. There's no forcing things to the front or to the back. Simply walking. Walk like nobody's watching. Walk like the path is the point. Walk like every step it's its own reward. Maybe that's why the greatest thinkers walked so much, because movement lightens the mind. And sometimes it just helps to forget how sore your feet are. Pontecesures, 29 kilometers from Santiago, a sleepy little town with just enough charm to say, stay here tonight. And so I did. No big decision, just presence. The kind of stop that it's not about the rest, it's about listening inwards. And if you think Padron is only about the peppers, you might be right. But also, there is more. Next morning, Len stopped and back on the trail. Padron, another town, another layer of Galician history. The writer Rosalia Castro, churches whispering pilgrims' prayers, and of course, peppers. But honestly, I was in my own story now. And every step kept asking me, what are you really walking towards? And the next encounter was unexpected. Not like a falling tree or a surprise storm, but the man with the piano in the field. That's right, a piano. David. Playing music for pilgrims as they take the final reflective steps towards Santiago. Who does that? An artist, a madman, a Camino angel? I slowed down, not just my pace but my mind. The music didn't rush me, it invited me to breathe, to reflect, to maybe cry or maybe just smile. You begin to see the cathedral towers from the distance, and whether you want it or not, your heartbeat quickens. And comment down below, have you ever reached the finish line and realized you weren't ready for it to end? Leave your comment below and see what other pilgrims are thinking about that. And strangely, all I could think was, wait, can we slow down a little? Santiago. The familiar streets, the backpacks, the crowds of pilgrims crying, smiling, texting their families from the square. And me. I felt quiet. Not disappointed, not even overwhelmed. Just still. And here is the thing. After all the expectations, all the reflections, all the moments of frustrations and awe, and just when I began to truly walk it, it was over. So no, I wouldn't walk the last 100 kilometers again, and because they weren't beautiful, it's not they weren't meaningful, because now I know the Camino de Santiago isn't something that you can fit in your life. Camino changes your life if you give it a time. That's why I'm not done with walking. Because if Santiago is the end, what lies beyond the end? That's what I'm just about to find out. I'm going to Finisterre, to the other end, to the mystical end of the Camino de Santiago. Let's see what's behind the horizon. Are you joining me? If this Camino stirred something in you, not just your feet but your questions, your heart, maybe it's time to walk it for real. Next year, we're guiding small groups along the Camino Portuguese. No rush, no pressure, just the real thing. A journey to reflect, to reset, and rediscover what matters. Join the waiting list below, because sometimes the most important step is saying yes to the walk.